How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about 10 cars that you can buy for under £5,000 that are hugely underrated. Now obviously underrated is an opinion and it is my opinion here. I think that people kind of overlook these cars and don't give them their due. Not saying they're all amazing, but they're definitely worth at least a look. In the comments down below, let me know if you can think of any other underrated cars for the same kind of price range or just any price range, just let me know. And if you want to see the same video again at under £2,000, hit the like button. If it gets 1,000 likes, I'll make that video. Don't forget I'm in the UK, so prices in other countries may differ, and don't forget whenever you buy any second-hand car, maintenance, repairs, insurance, road tax, all that good stuff is important to remember. If you enjoy these kind of videos and want to see more, do hit the subscribe button, but without further ado, let's get into the video. A friend and fellow YouTuber named Ewan owns the first car on this list, the Honda CR-Z, which is a 1.5 litre inline-4 hybrid engine which makes 122 brake horsepower and will get to 60 in 9.6 seconds. Not particularly quick, but from experience it's a highly underrated car. It's overlooked due to the slow 0 to 60, but given you get a hybrid with 56 miles per gallon efficiency and road tax of just £20 per year and a properly premium package overall from my experience. It followed on from the CRX, but as a 4-seater with bench seats at the rear that you probably can't quite sit in. Honestly, the interior for me is the party piece with this car, even though it does of course look quite unique on the exterior too, as it was designed after two Honda concept cars. That interior benefits from nice sports seats and all the tech you need. I particularly rate this as a first car. These start at around £3,500 at the bottom end, and for £5,000 you'll be looking at a 2010 example with around 80,000 miles on the clock. Reliability is generally positive on these, but fog lights are known to break easily and the batteries need replacing too. Wind noise is also noted as an issue, but nothing else major. Next up is a car I've thought about buying many times but is slowly heading out of reach in terms of price, the Brabus Roadster with its 0.7 litre turbocharged inline-3 engine which makes 101 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 9.5 seconds. I've used this car in previous videos as the main word that comes to mind when I think about the Roadster is fun. You can of course get a non-Brabus example, but the Brabus benefits from slightly quicker gear changes, some cooler body styling both outside and in, and some sharper handling characteristics. I really like the exhaust placement on these and the alloys too, but those alloys are known to rust, which is a shame. There are also only 400 of these left on the roads here in the UK, so they're quite rare, so you get yourself into something that not many people have. I think this rarity and lack of knowledge is what makes it so underrated. £3,500 the minimum that I could find these listed for, and at £5,000 you'll still be finding pretty high mileage examples. Owners complain about the rust that I mentioned, as well as the sluggish gearbox if they're not used to it. Overheating when standing still is also a known issue, as that engine block is at the back. I'm a sly fan of the Suzuki Swift, and I think the Sport is a particularly underrated car, given it's not a hot hatch and kind of fits into the warm hatch category instead. It has a 1.6 litre inline-4 engine with variable valve timing, which produces 123 brake horsepower, and it will get to 60 in 8.6 seconds. I've proven in previous videos that even at 17 you can get insured on one of these if you're lucky, and what a car to own as your first. These are a great platform and they're used in both road and rallycross series around the world with very limited modifications other than for safety, showing their capability. It's also pretty practical with good fuel economy at 40 miles per gallon and reasonable boot space. Quality is pretty good too on the interior. They're not super interesting, pretty basic to be honest, but you can find some spec with the Recaro bucket seats, which are pretty cool. I found the cheapest examples start at £1,500, and for £5,000 you'll get a 2008 model with around 40,000 miles on it. And to make life better for you, the reliability is known to be very good on these in general. Some gearboxes have had problems, but the only issue I could consistently find was the weak handbrake. The Alfa Romeo Brera in JTS spec is highly underpowered. In fact, in almost any spec it lacks power. It has a 2.2 litre inline-4 engine which makes 182 brake horsepower and will do 0 to 60 in 8.3 seconds. Now that's not the 3.2 litre V6, as it's slightly too expensive for this video. Instead I'm talking about the car that was criticised for underperforming in particular. It doesn't sound too underrated, but what I think is so special about this car is how it looks. For the money you get an absolutely stunning Alfa that was designed designed by the same man responsible for the Ferrari 250 GT Berlinetta, DeLorean, BMW M1, and the Aston Martin DB4 Bertone Jet, arguably one of the most beautiful cars of all time. The way it looks at the back in particular gets me going, with that triangular rear window that is so unique compared to other cars you'll find. The interior is also very classic Alfa with nice leather seats and a simple dashboard. £2,500 will get you a very high mileage example, and £5,000 will get you a 2008 model with around 80,000 miles on the clock. The 2.2 litre block is known for timing chain wear, and the gearbox has seen some bearing wear, particularly on 6th gear. Outside of that, the only common problem I could find was power steering failure. The Golf GTI is definitely not an underrated car, but the EOS TFSI is underrated and has the exact same engine, a 2 litre turbocharged inline 4 which makes 197 brake horsepower and will manage 0 to 60 in 7.6 seconds. It is actually a successor to the Golf Cabriolet, but in this case VW dropped the Golf name and swapped in EOS, which is the Greek goddess of dawn. It has a hardtop convertible roof that splits into 5 pieces, including a glass sunroof. This roof does steal some of the practicality as it folds into the boot, but I think it's worth it for some convertible fun. It's got a classic and familiar interior that you'd expect from a VW2, effectively the same as what you'd find in the Golf, and though the two cars do share the same platform and components, the exterior panels are different. If you've got £2,000 in the bank, you'll be able to get a ratty example, and for £5,000 you'll be looking at a 2007 model with around 50,000 miles on the clock. Owners complained about excessive oil consumption, and some engines have suffered from chain tensioner issues. All in though, it's a pretty similar story to the Mark V GTI. Just a reminder, if you haven't already, in the comments down below do let me know what cars you think are super underrated. As I said, if the video gets 1,000 likes, I will make the same video under £2,000. And please do hit the subscribe button if you're new here and want to see 2 videos every single week. We're super close to 100k, trying to get there as soon as possible. I made a video about a year ago looking at how Mitsubishi lost their way as a manufacturer of cool cars, but as they were in the process of doing that, they released the Colt Ralliart, which is a 1.5 litre turbocharged inline 4 which makes 147 brake horsepower and will manage 0 to 60 in 7.2 seconds. The Ralliart is the special edition of the Colt CZT, both of which get you a sporty version of the original car. It has stiffer suspension and a sportier body kit and interior to let you know it means business. But I would put this in the same category as the Swift in terms of being a cheap and fun warm hatch, just in this case it's also pretty unique, as not many people will have even seen one of these in person, given there are just 350 left on the roads here in the UK. Of course it's no Ralliart Evo, but for under 5k this is as good as you'll get from Mitsubishi. £3,000 the minimum that you'll find these listed for, and for £5,000 you get a 2010 model with around 60,000 miles on it. Gears 1 to 3 are known to be quite crunchy, and some owners have complained about dashboard lights turning on and off at weird times. The BMW 123D is one of those if you know cars. It has a 2 litre twin turbocharged inline 4 diesel engine which makes 201 brake horsepower, and it'll do 0 to 60 in 6.7 seconds. It's quoted at doing 55 miles per gallon, which is pretty good, although owners note you probably won't get that in reality. It comes as both the coupe and hatchback as well as a convertible, but I'm personally drawn to that coupe as it's such a good looking car, and the slightly higher price of the coupes reflects that. The 3-door hatchback is also a pretty good looking car as well though. The car makes 400 Nm of torque, which is nuts, all thanks to that diesel block. The interior is also pretty simple on these, as the 1.2s was the entry level BMW at the time, and I would recommend going for an M Sport example just to get that sweet body kit and styling, as that's all that really changes. You'll find these listed for a minimum of around £3,000, and for 5k you'll get a 2010 coupe with 100,000 miles on it. That engine, though powerful, suffers from excessive timing chain wear which causes early onset death. If you can get one from 2010 onwards, you'll be better off, as the worst affected examples are from 2007 to 2009. Volvo is a brand that has a bunch of sleepers in its lineup, but one that I simply never thought of before was the S80, with its 4.4 litre V8 engine making 310 brake horsepower, which will get it to 60 in 6.3 seconds. This is the second generation S80, and as a luxury executive saloon, it comes with some pretty lush features on the interior and reasonably good technology to keep you safe and comfortable. available, like the active brake lights that know the difference between normal and panic braking. It sits on the same platform as the 3rd gen Mondeo, as its platform comes from Ford, but none of this is very interesting. The key thing about this car is that V8 engine shoved into the front. It's the only Volvo passenger car with a V8 in it, and it helps to turn this luxury saloon into a wafter. These are only just available for under £5,000, so you'll be looking at pretty high mileage for that kind of money. Power steering, coolant leaks, fuel hose problems, and the parking brake are the main issues I could find with these, but many have done well over 200,000 miles, so that's quite encouraging. Most car people I know love the Mazda RX-7, and it's considered among the most beautiful JDM cars available. The RX-8 R3, which followed it, however, gets heavily overlooked in comparison, despite hosting a 1.3 litre rotary engine which makes 227 brake horsepower and will get to 60 in 6.2 seconds. What makes it overlooked is the loss of the twin turbochargers and commitment to natural aspiration, so it's not quite the same savage beast as the RX-7 with way less torque and ultimately less performance. So it's not fast, but it's overlooked in terms of handling, as that little wankel engine is very light, and in total the car comes to around 1,300 kilograms with 50-50 weight distribution. It's not an easy block to get more power out of, but that aside, you still get a great handling sports car that has rear seats still and rear hinged rear doors. The minimum you'll find these listed for is around £3,000, and at 5k you'll be looking at a 2008 model with 40,000 miles on the clock. The engine is the main problem with this car, sadly, as it's not known for its reliability. Some owners have suggested it's because you have to rag these things like crazy to get any speed out of them. There is one car that I absolutely bang on about, the Lexus GS450h, and with good reason. I reckon it's massively underrated. It has a 3.5 litre V6 hybrid setup, which puts out a combined 341 brake horsepower and will take it to 60 in 5.7 seconds. Not bad at all for a luxury saloon that was designed to look as muscly and sleek as possible. This is not just a luxury car, but a sleeper and a hugely underrated one in my books, given you get a properly nice interior focused on keeping you as comfortable as possible, with plush, heated and ventilated seats, as well as the cool hidden panel for controls to make the dashboard cleaner. You also get an exceptional engine which was built so well it won numerous awards as a feat of engineering, and it's only the battery for the hybrid motor that is known as a common issue, but it's not too expensive to replace. Owners have put hundreds of thousands of miles on these and kept them running too, which is always helpful to know. These are getting more and more expensive too, and now start at around £4,500, so for 5k you'll still be looking at a 2007 model with pretty high mileage. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to hit the like button, I would really appreciate it, and subscribe as well if you're new. Mass thanks to the patrons as always for their support, particularly the new ones as well. Thanks for jumping on board. Thanks as well to you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.